Good evening. Thank you for the applause, Mary Kay. Welcome to Wednesday Night Live, everyone. My name is Josh Reeves. I have the honor of being a lead minister with Michelle Medrano and all of our incredible ministers here at Mile High Church. It's so good to see everyone. We're going to begin this evening by playing a little game. Are you up for it with me? It's like a meditation game, so you don't have to move around or anything or at home. But it's called the fill in the blank game. So we're going to start, and I just want you to think of life is, and then fill in the blank, or whatever it is for you. Could be wonderful, could be hard, could be I don't know. Life is, fill in the blank. The next one is, my life is. And that could be my life is hard, my life is beautiful, my life is magnificent, my life is twists and turns. And then lastly, I am, fill in the blank. I am tired, I'm glad to be here, I'm confused. So we fill in all those blanks, and here's the game, here's the spiritual game, is we take away all the blanks and we leave the statements as is. So just say with me if you choose, life is. No, actually, don't fill in the blank, Mary Kay, just life is. And now it's my life is. And then lastly, I am. And it may seem a little weird, but it always helps me get to center and to let go of any story, sometimes positive or negative, just to come back to the center of who I am. And I know that this service in Mile High Church is always a place that best returns me to myself. So it's so wonderful to be here tonight. It's so wonderful to have Lauren Sheely and these incredible musicians with us tonight. You all look beautiful, and it's time to hand it over to them.
Thank you, guys. That's a nice welcome. When 10,000 arrows take flight, remind me that you are my armor. There's always a place I can hide when I am desperate for shelter. You're my
telling them thank you because I went seriously off track, which happens sometimes, but you just keep moving forward. And then you say thank you and sorry. The next song I chose to me, speaks about forgiveness. Whew, that was the hardest. What am I talking about? It is the hardest thing because it's this ongoing thing that I do. But before I really had an answer to prayers about forgiveness, I was so filled with visceral, palpable, vibrating rage. I couldn't even think. And we just harm ourselves. So I was totally incapacitated. But thankfully, my prayer was answered. It was just an ongoing, teach me how to forgive. Teach me how to forgive, please. Teach me how to forgive. I actually came to a class about it, and that was when my greatest teacher showed up. So I picked this song because I think of those energies, all of that anger and rage as walls, and they just keep the whole world out. And when I was able to find acceptance and see this person in a different light, it does help. I'm not saying it's completely over. I struggle with it, but it does help a lot, so, yeah.
Stacking up the years I spent picking punches with the enemy. Ooh, build myself a double thick stone tower of lies higher than the eye can see. Trapped in my flesh and bone, crying out to you, Lord, I'm desperate. Love, come rattle this cage and set me free. All of my fears like Jericho walls gotta calm down, calm down. All of my fears like Jericho walls gotta calm down, calm down, calm down. My prison turns to ruins when your love moves in. All of my fears like Jericho walls gotta calm down, calm down, calm down. Ooh, truth was crashing through the pride and the blame, cutting straight to the heart of me. Ooh, long before I ever called your name, you were fighting for my victory. Carved in your flesh and bone, wounds that have set my soul forgiven. Oh, now I can feel the darkness trembling. All of my fears like Jericho walls gotta calm down, calm down. All of my fears like Jericho walls gotta calm down, calm down, oh calm down. My prison turns to ruin when your love moves me. All of my fears like
fun. Oh, I love that song, and I love the message. So that one was for me, but I have one for you. So this next song, it's called Brighter Days, and I love it, but I thought of it as what I'd like to tell you guys, and it's so easy from a separate position, from a distance, to know the truth for you. I know it without a doubt, no doubt. And so I invite you to hear these words, but just know it is the truth. I do not lie. So this is for you. I needed just a second to take a breath. Lots of energy. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I swear that love will find you in your pain. I feel it in me like the beating of life in my veins. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. Whoa, ashes fall from burning dreams. Oh, never lived through times like these. Oh, if you're trying hard to breathe in the dark, in the dark, I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I swear that love will find you in your pain. I feel it in me like the beating of life in my veins. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. Oh, if your screams don't make a sound. Oh, if your walls are crashing down. Oh, if your heart just cries too loud all the time, all the time. Oh, I know there's gonna be some brighter day. I swear that love will find you in your pain. I feel it in me like the beating of life in my veins. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. Oh, brighter days. Brighter days. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I swear that love will find you in your pain. I feel it in me like the beating of life in my veins. Oh, I know there's gonna be some brighter days. I swear that love will find you in your pain. I feel it in me like the beating of life in my veins. I know there's gonna be some brighter days. Oh, I know there's gonna be some brighter days. Oh.
Lauren Sheely ministering to us today. There's a phrase, be transparent to the transcendent. And so I love all that you're being transparent to with us too. And Mike, Susan. Did Kent just run away? Rob. Wonderful musicians, just as good as human beings, everybody. We love these folks and all the gifts that they choose to share with us. And good evening, everyone. You're not so bad yourselves. So there was a single dad, had a little girl 4 years old, and he thinks he's put her to bed one night, and he's been going through it. And he sits down on his bed and he starts thinking about those bills that are piling up unpaid and how he's going to pay the rent and the broken relationships and can he handle being a dad to this little girl. And he just starts to cry. And in all honesty, he really starts to wail. You ever have those wails? And he puts his hands over his face and he's just weeping, and he doesn't realize that his little girl is up and she sees him through a doorway. And that could be a lot for a little girl to take, to see her dad breaking down like that. And a few minutes pass by, and he finally looks up from his, with his swollen eyes from his hands, and his daughter is about 2 feet in front of him, and she's holding up a glass of lukewarm tap water. So a courageous little girl wanting to help Daddy, not knowing what to do, goes and gets him a glass of water, and Dad smiles. And did that lukewarm tap water take away any of his pain? No. Did it pay the bills, fix the relationships, or give him a sense of direction? No. But in that moment, it meant everything. And that's the forgiveness that I want to talk about with everyone tonight. That forgiveness is like that lukewarm glass of tap water. In the moment, does it take away all your pain? No. Does it make things better? No. At first, it might even make things feel worse. But when you understand that what really matters in the end, like that little girl to her dad, is to know that no matter what's happened in your life, that you're loved. That no matter what you're going through, that you're loved and you matter. That no matter what might happen, there is a consciousness, and hopefully people in your life too, that see through any of the activities, the joy and the pain, the all of it, to behold you as the precious and beautiful child of God that you are. And, this inspires the message tonight of you can forgive. I had initially titled the talk, You Can Forgive That SOB, but Reverend Carol thought it was a little crude, and I guess she's right, putting it on the marquee, but you can know that yourselves. And I want to apply it to just some practical ideas to affirm that we can forgive ourselves, that we can forgive the people we love and interact with on a daily basis, and we can forgive the people that we don't like. And it's okay to not like people. But there are tools that we can use that can allow us to step into forgiveness. And before I get into those, I want to share a key point today that I don't believe we ever forgive alone. You never have to forgive alone. And I mean that especially in the spiritual context, that forgiveness is something that we always do in awareness of a power greater than we are, in awareness of spirit, in awareness of God. And this is true with all spiritual practices. When we meditate, we sit down, we become aware of our breathing, we appreciate in the present moment. And what happens is it's not that we awaken to the divine, but there's something about the divine that can awaken in us. It becomes aware of itself in us when you meditate long enough, not just in a day, but over time. And all of a sudden, it's like the divine is taking you up on water skis, and you can feel that greater connection. When we pray, we sometimes go within and we begin to look over things that are upcoming in our lives. We begin to think about people we love and care about. We think about ourselves in future times, and we begin to line it with desires of what we'd like to see take place. And hopefully what happens is we complete those and we go out to our lives, and there's a demonstration that happens. And what do we say when that happens? Thank you, God. Thank you, God. We don't demonstrate the answers to our own prayers. We become the answer, and something comes through. And it's the same with forgiveness. All you need to forgive is a past That's a saying I have for myself, is I need to forgive every time I remember. But we think upon those moments that may have kidnapped a part of our spirit in the past, these incomplete or broken experiences. And we do what's called the work. We write a letter. We listen to a sad song. We cry. We talk about it. We take a walk. We create whatever ritual it is. That's the work of forgiveness, but the demonstration is eventually the grace, what we might call the grace of God. Fills us, and we know that something higher than we are has given us permission to move on in our lives in a more profound and meaningful way. So forgiving ourselves, I think of that phrase, do better. I like that, do better. Shunryu Suzuki put it well for our religious scientists. He said, each and every one of you here is perfect, but you could all use a little improvement. I like to know that for myself, to know myself in wholeness, and yet to know that I'm always growing. And a practical bit of advice for forgiving yourself is to make it an ongoing process, and do that by seeking to make amends right away. There's something powerful about looking back at your day, each and every day, seeing where you hit the center, where you hit the bullseye that you wanted to in your day, and then noticing where you didn't. You know, for me, where I often struggle isn't with mistakes I may have made, but moments where I could have been more kind, where I could have listened better. And it's so important, I've learned, when I can, and because I don't mean to be hypocritical here because I fail at it sometimes, is to seek to clear it up as soon as possible. Some of us were forgiving ourselves for things that happened years or even decades ago. But if you can start day by day, it can begin to create that grace in a faster way. I love a story about Abraham Lincoln in the midst of the Civil War. He's managing all this stuff at the White House, and there's a colonel who comes by to share that his wife has drowned, and he's looking to take leave so that he can bury his wife. And Lincoln, in that moment, is frustrated. Do I have to do everything for everybody? Can't anyone leave me alone? Can I have any peace? And he sends the man home. Right? And you have to sympathize with Lincoln a little bit. There's a big war going on. It's a tough thing. But Lincoln, the next morning, is at the colonel's door with his hat in hand. I was a bore last night. And does everything he can to make things better for the man. And that's leadership. Leadership isn't not making the mistake, being imperfect. You know, leadership can be screwing up, but it's really about how quick can we get back to center? How quick can we bring ourselves back into that notion? And for a lot of us, this could be a guy thing, but it's this aspect of, I need to not try and fix my mistake. I need to do better now. How can I show you through being a better listener, through being more kind in my life, versus trying to build a whole story of why I screwed up in the first place? So own it and move forward. I also think that there's something really powerful about giving ourselves rituals that help us process our past. You know, forgiveness could be called struggling with our past, but for a lot of us, it's a struggling to really experience it. And so there's something about creating a list of songs, just like Lauren did so beautifully tonight, that can take us through a past experience and allow us to experience outside of our story, but at the level of heart. It could be cooking an old family meal. It could be rereading a book that you had read in the past that means a lot to you. There's something that calls it back, that echoes that saying of Jesus, that it's blessed are those who mourn, because it's allowing us to embody all the lessons of our past so that we can move forward with a greater sense of wholeness and of purpose. When it comes to forgiving those that we love, the phrase that comes to mind is from Martin Luther King Jr. when he said that forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a permanent attitude. And forgiveness for me is a key part of our most intimate relationships. If you're not forgiving every day, you may not be experiencing that intimacy with the people that you love the most, be it your partner or your kids or your closest co-workers. And what happens to me sometimes is that I don't notice that I've been offended or upset till like days later. Have you ever had that with your partner, and your partner says something, you're not paying attention, and 3 days later you're like, wait a minute, I can't believe she said that to me. And so there's something about being with the people we love, being willing to either forgive in the moment, or if we can't, to take some time at the end of the day, and we're going to close the talk in a little while with a little process for doing that, to consciously forgive. To know that especially with the people that we trust and love the most, they're never out to intentionally hurt us. But nonetheless, those hurts happen and we hold on to them. And it can keep us from getting to that intimacy and that closeness and connection that we want with people we love. I did something unique tonight in talking with my wife. I asked her to share with me, and I shared with her, 3 things that I would like to communicate when we're feeling disconnected. And I think that's another great way of forgiving the people that we love when they're struggling. What is it that they might really want us to know that they can't communicate? And what would it mean to know it ahead of time? And so the things that I shared with my partner are, sometimes I have trouble receiving love. So even if it looks like I'm ungrateful, I really am. Sometimes when I'm distant from you, it's not because of you, but it's my own need to recharge, to separate. And lastly, I'm always interested in knowing how I can best love you. And here are some things for my partner. I made sure there was nothing weird, but I'm only really hearing them now in this moment, so I might take a second. She says, I move away too quickly for my own good when I'm disconnected, and I might miss needs that you have. She says, sometimes I try to fix a connection at very rapid pace, avoiding my own feelings, which means I'm stuck in understanding yours. Well, I'm going to have to chew on that one for a while. And then lastly, I always want you to feel and know my love for you is there in all connections and disconnection. And sometimes when we're in conflict with people that we love, we get caught up in the stories, right? They're this way, they're that way. When really sometimes all that's happening is there's a message to be heard that if we can hear it from them or remember the truth about them, forgiveness comes that much easier. Lastly, on this topic of forgiving people we don't like, I think as good religious scientists, we sometimes feel like we're supposed to like everybody. Did you ever get that message? You have to be nice to everybody, but you don't have to like everybody. And sometimes when we have a feeling of dislike for someone because of something they've done or it's just an intuition, I think it's okay to honor that. And so I don't think forgiving people we don't like is about trying to like them, renewing a relationship with them, or whatever it may be. But there is something about knowing they do deserve to be liked by somebody. There's a quote from Paul Ferrini, who was a powerful Course in Miracles guy. He wrote a book about forgiveness. He says, yes, your compassion must go this deep. There is no human being who does not deserve your forgiveness. There is no human being who does not deserve your love. And I would echo that, but at the same time, I would say it doesn't always have to be your love. I think there's something to be said about forgiving people we don't like, whether it's someone who's harmed us or it's someone like a Vladimir Putin or someone in the world that's driving us crazy with negative behavior. I don't have to say I love that person, but I'm willing to let God love them. I'm willing to know that someone can love them somewhere and that they're worthy somewhere of receiving that love. That frees me from being inauthentic, but it also opens me up to realizing their own worth as a human being. I also think there's something about forgiving other people that we don't like that is always holding somewhere within us the knowledge or the belief that they can get better, that they can change. Talking about someone like Vladimir Putin, I hope he faces all the consequences of his actions, and yet there's a part of me that knows and wants to pray that he can wake up tomorrow and understand things better and change his behavior. When I first read it, I thought it was one of the most naive things I ever read, but I think it spoke to this. There was a letter that Mahatma Gandhi wrote to Adolf Hitler in 1939, and I'll read it to you tonight. He says, "Dear friend, friends have been urging me to write you for the sake of humanity, but I have resisted their request because of the feeling that any letter from me would be an impertinence. Something tells me that I must not calculate and that I must make my appeal for whatever it may be worth. It is quite clear that you are today the one person in the world who can prevent a war which may reduce humanity to a savage state. Must you pay that price for an object, however worthy it may appear to you to be? Will you listen to the appeal of one who has deliberately shunned the method of war, not without considerable success? Anyway, I anticipate your forgiveness if I have erred in writing you. And, there's that part of you that goes, what? But there's another part that says the courage of Gandhi to say, even though it may seem impossible, I'm going to know that you are capable of making a different decision. I once had a loved one who was struggling with addiction. And so many of you have had that same situation. And I had to get to the point where I had to cut this person off, not because I wasn't fine with them taking advantage of me or whatever it may be, or me enabling them. I just loved them and wanted them to do better. But I began to believe over time that they were no longer capable of change, that they were no longer capable of getting better. And it was then that I had to cut things off, because I had forgotten the truth of who this person is. And I think that's such a powerful part of forgiveness, is yes, acknowledging the hurt that someone has caused us, or someone we love, or humanity itself, and to want them to stop that hurting. But at the same time, to be in that space, to know that there is a light, no matter how hidden it may be in someone, that someone can access to become a better human being, to be a better partner, even if it's going to be to someone else, to wake up to that deepest truth of who they are. The last thing I would say before going into a closing process tonight is that spiritual forgiveness is doing that work. It's doing those rituals. It's remembering the truth. It's writing those letters. It's taking those nature walks. It's listening to those mix CDs. It's doing all of those things. That's our work to get clear and to get better. But that pragmatic forgiveness, especially when we're renewing our relationships, requires boundaries. It requires that clarity of what it means to you to be in sanctuary and to be in safety with someone. And if we can't do that, there's no use renewing any sort of intimate relationship. You may need a professional one. You may need to create distance and communicate in different ones. But if we want to create intimacy with people where there's depth and understanding and dignity, our boundaries should be communicated and should be respected. And if they can't be, then I think that's where we choose to end a relationship over renew it. So wherever you are in forgiveness with yourself, with your loved ones, or with those SOBs out there, God bless them. Let's remember again that ability to always know that even if it's as small a token as that lukewarm glass of water, that within each of us is the ability to be that for others, like that little girl was there for her dad, or to open up to people who may be there for us, who know they can't fix our pain, but they're present with us anyways, who know that they can't make us happier about a circumstance, but they offer love. Everyone deserves that love, and even if it's someone else that has to give it to someone, we can be that presence. So I have a forgiveness practice that I'm going to invite you into tonight, if you so choose to join me. And again, this isn't about bringing anything up that's going to cause us to be immobile and not be able to leave the sanctuary after. It's just a matter of bringing to mind, first for ourselves, a time, it could have been 20 years ago, it could have been just an hour ago, where we missed the mark on who we wanted to be. And just invite you to become aware of that moment as it shows up to you right now. And just ask yourself, what was the understanding, what was the worldview, what was the way of thinking for you that caused you to behave in that way that you know was less than how you wanted to show up? Can you understand that? Can you be forgiving of that and compassionate about that? And ask yourself, from where you stand now with perhaps a more panoramic view, who are you in relationship with that person in the moment that happened? And if you don't know, now is an opportunity to declare who you will be. A compassionate friend, hopefully not a painstaking judge. But can you embrace yourself in that moment with forgiveness and compassion? And if so, you can say quietly to yourself, I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. And now calling to mind someone we love, someone we interact with regularly, who we admire, who at times perhaps creates experiences unintentionally that cause us to feel hurt or harm. Or maybe it was someone we love who isn't in their right wits that did something that hurt us. Just invite you to think of a particular moment and to bring that person right then to mind and to ask yourself, what was their way of thinking at the time? What was their tunnel vision? What was their worldview that caused them to behave in a way that was less than the truth of who they really are? Not dismissing the action or how it made us feel. Can we now, from where we are now, that more panoramic view, that more whole perspective, look at that person and offer any sort of compassion, any sort of understanding, not dismissing or making their mistake okay, but seeing why they did what they did based upon their understanding of life and who they were in that moment. And if you don't know who you are in relationship with that person then, from where you are now, you can declare who you now will be. A presence of forgiveness, a presence of understanding, someone who's guarded but accepting. Whatever it may be, it's okay. It's okay. And if you feel comfortable, you can say silently to yourself, I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. And lastly, we'll bring to consciousness that person, whether you know them or they're out in the world doing something that hurts your heart. Just ask yourself, whatever that behavior that person did towards you or is doing towards someone you care about or humanity itself, what is their understanding? How could they get to a place of understanding themselves in the world in such a place that would cause them to cause this kind of harm or hurt? Don't shy away ever from feeling the hurt or the pain that someone may be causing in the world, but understand your resilience in your spirit and seeking to know that they come not from a place of deep darkness or evil, but of great ignorance and misunderstanding. And from where you are now, this panoramic view, this whole perspective, know who you are in relationship with who this person was then, right now. Can it be stoic and certain and perhaps even critical? Yet can we hold that space to know that even this person is worthy of love, worthy of attention, and even this person, no matter how misguided, confused, or twisted they have become, is capable of seeing that light, a light that we know and believe is within each and every one of us. And perhaps just this holding of this light and this knowing could somehow spur the screws of existence to wake this person up to the harm they've caused and to the better that they can choose right here and right now. And only if it feels comfortable, we can silently say to ourselves towards this person, I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. I wish you love. I wish me love. I forgive you. Perhaps the greatest illusion of forgiveness is that it's a one-time act. Just like meditation or prayer, it is best served for us when it is a daily spiritual practice. And so I just invite you to check intuitively with yourself to say from this day forward, what is the best part of my day or that time of the week where I can best really check in on myself and experience, to catch those little parts of my spirit that may have been kidnapped, held hostage by moments in the past, and to call them back to myself through this practice of forgiveness. May this practice of forgiveness allow me to be a more whole person. May this practice of forgiveness allow me to live in the clarity and the light of who I am, knowing no one has power over my choice to live in the fullness and the thrivingness of who I really am. And make a commitment to meet your heart in this place, whether it's every day or once a week or once a month. Not to do deep soul work, but just to do those little things, those little acts of love towards yourself that open our heart up like that lukewarm glass of tap water, to allow the grace of God to enter into our heart, our mind, our bodies, our work, our relationships, and our entire way of being. With gratitude, we let this forgiveness flow and be and become as a better you and I. And so it is. Amen. I go immediately into the offering, Kent. Thank you, Kent. Kent Remstrauss, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. It's so great to have everyone here. And this is our time of offering, where we get to not only bless wonderful things going on in our spiritual community, but get to honor the financial support of the church. And just so grateful to all the people who serve this Wednesday night service. If you're a volunteer or serve in some way in this service, will you just identify yourself? Our practitioners, our ushers, and so on. Let's hear it for them. We are so grateful for you. Our incredible production team is incredible musicians. So grateful to be a part of creating this sanctuary here and at home. And just know we're grateful for the money that you give to Mile High Church. There's bins outside. You can text to give. You can mail in a check. But let us know and speak a prayer not only for the abundance of Mile High, but for our own abundance and the abundance of everyone who's watching this service tonight, knowing together that we do live in an infinite flow that is blessing each and every one of us, that is multiplying in wonderful ways and demonstrations for us. And so it is.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. Why
beginning a 2-part series that's around our health and well-being initiative. And next Wednesday, Dr. Patty's back with us here. Her talk title, Outrageously Alive, which sounds pretty awesome to me. Don't forget that you can go online and make a prayer request. And I know that there's some practitioners around here with the purple shawls. If you could use a prayer before you leave, I'm sure that they'd be happy to do an affirmative prayer with you. But with that, if you'd like to stand where you are, we're going to sing a great song called I Release, which is a great forgiveness practice, isn't it? So let's hear it in the spirit of forgiveness. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.